Anybody else do anything in the journey aspect of this?
I was gonna, tiny elf, do you feel more noble and fierce now that you are able to be a bigger dragon?
And I think about it for a second and I say, well, yes, it is kind of empowering knowing I can turn into a silver wormling now. And yes, it's a neat feeling.
They are one of the greatest of dragons.
Aw.
Oh, and I so I'll like start trying to ask him if he's had encounters. Have you met silver dragons in your time, Karash?
No,
Oh,
I have never met anything besides the Aurelia lady and other dragonborn. But anything that is dragonkin is like family to me. And that you are now able to be a dragon that is greater is like being family.
Aw.
and I'm like super touched by this. I'm like, oh, well, I think of you all as my family too.
Just you.
Can we
okay.
can we overhear this at all? Like, are you guys off by yourself, or
Well, I'm at the front of the
I don't
car.
know, in the
so-
caravan? I don't know.
Yeah, they're in the caboose. You guys are up in the stagecoach. Yeah, you can hear them.
No,
It's gonna take like pretty quiet whispering not to be heard on this wagon. It's
I
not
know.
super big.
Oh,
And Karash whispering, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And I say, well, I
not a thing.
appreciate that, Karash.
Tessin just tries to joke a bit, and is just like, well, you know, Thea's got a little dragon blood in her herself. That almost makes you like family as well.
what?
But Thea's engrossed in her sketches at this point, so she's only half listening. She kind of gives you a and she continues like vigorously working on the scroll because she wants this to be as detailed as possible, to the point where it's almost like, I don't want to say obsessive, but it's like it's more detailed than it would possibly have to be for the purpose of the Archaeology Guild.
And then Tessin is he's almost kind of trying to distract her, and kind of like playfully, he's like, well, yeah, you can see, if you look closely, there's a bit of a shimmer here, and he kind of like pokes her cheek a little bit, and a little bit here, and and he's like, the scales are there. They're pretty tough, you know.
I'm leaning in to look as closely as I can based on where I'm sitting in the cart.
She is able to shrug off the attempts to distract her because she's used to it at this point, and she's too excited about what's going on. It does kind of like like you can see her like blink in reaction, like she notices, but she's like either choosing not to pay you mind or too engrossed not to. But and in Crash, you can also see as you kind of lean in, you can see the sketch she's working on. It's a very well drawn version of the dragon that you met inside the cave.
But she legitimately has scales?
They're like there's like a shimmer to it, like a sheen, I guess would be the best way to describe it.
But something that would be recognizable to me as dragon-like?
At the very least, yeah. It's not like
Okay.
it's not specifically like dragon scales, but just the appearance does have the look of someone who's been connected to it in some way. Yeah.
Okay. I did not know you were blood. I am sorry. I would have not been so bothered by you when we first met.
And this does at least get her attention, not to the point where she looks over or stops what she's doing, but she does kind of appear to register this, and she says, well, it's partially my fault as well. We didn't get off on the best foot, but I'm actually quite interested in you as well. I have my own methods, but I wouldn't mind sketching you either, Karash, if we find some time.
What? Yes, sketching is fine. What foot would we have gotten off on?
And she looks over at Tessie now for the first time. She goes, ah, so this is what you were referring to. I see.
And then it's like, you have to be careful about, you know.
Karash, when I was a young boy, and I'm like just doing like my guns, and like, I almost got a tattoo of a dragon. Would that have made us family too?
No, that would have made you a person with a silly tattoo.
Okay, just checking.
That was a silly question.
I'm sorry, Karash. Sometimes I fail to keep up with your fierce wit. I apologize.
Tessian's trying very hard not to say something rude.
Just gonna kind of sit and think on that for a while because I don't know what the hell just happened.
So after a few hours pass, probably like 3-ish, it starts to get to like, we're getting a little bit in the darkening pre-evening sky. You guys finally crest atop the Penella Pass, and from up here, there's still trees around you, so you can't see a lot of the surrounding area, but you can look out ahead, and you can actually make out Timberbrook from here. Large city. Probably bigger than Falstock. Hard to tell from this range. Isaac, you know from personal experience it is, because you've been there, but for everybody else, like, it's noticeable from here. Grail, you can't see the ranch from here. You know about where it's at, but not big enough to be visible from this distance. But you can kind of just look out and see what appears to be like a different valley area. More lush than the eastern side that you just came from. That didn't have a whole lot of tree growth except way east out by Cigar Cove, and then as you got near the Penella Pass. Most of the other area in between all that was relatively barren of trees and shrubs and the like. That's not the case out here. It's not like thick forest or anything, but you can definitely see there's more plant life, more green as you look out over the area. But besides Timberbrook, and you can sort of make out what you're at least pretty sure is Willowdale, because it's closer. There's a couple other places that look like they might be civilization, because they're shaped in such a way that they're more like carved out amongst this forestry. But even from up here, it's actually kind of surprising. And you can also kind of see the same thing if you look behind you. Falstock is visible. Jason Black Harbor is visible.
Is the Sowenwood?
The Sowenwood, at least as far as like a huge conglomeration of trees, is visible, yes.
Sweet.
There's no details of it, but you can see the vast swath of forest that it carves on the eastern side. And you can make out a speck that looks like it might be Falstock, and it reminds you of your fond memories of the city. And so from up here, you have a nice view and relatively unobstructed as you look immediately out to the west and east. Again, your surrounding area still has enough trees where you can't really like look alongside the mountain pass to see a lot, but gives you a nice view of where you've come from and where you're presumably headed.
Tessian takes a moment to take in the scene, especially because it's been a while since he's been home, so he's just enjoying the moment.
I'll definitely be looking out at Sowenwood, just thinking.
And your grandmother waves.
Isaac does not look up
Hi,
once.
Grandma.
It's almost as though he is not happy to be in this proximity to Timberbrook. But you can't tell for sure.
Interesting. Thea does pick up on this, by the way. She's like, how long has it been now? 5-6 months?
Tessian kind of does a mental count in his head. He's like, that sounds about right.
Are you missing it?
And he takes a second to think about it. I do sometimes. The smell of the sea, mostly. I mean, the fog. I know not everyone likes it, but I do. But this has been nice. Traveling, new places, new people. And it's been... The air is different here. It's nice. Different, but I've grown to like it.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. You've never quite had my same excitement for traveling, at least not as much as I do, but perhaps it's growing on you.
And he kind of pats her on the back, and then he kind of pulls her in for a side hug, and he's like, I think it has. Well, I hope it has. And he kind of looks at Lena, and he's like, I suspect I'll be doing a lot more of this.
And she kind of nods. She's like, it does seem like you're going to be away for some time longer at the very least, yes.
And he's like, yes, I wish I had a time frame, my love, but, well, such is not the case.
I do whisper to Grail, I mean, what's not to miss? Tessian and Black Harbor, at least when he gives an order there, everybody has to take it.
I kind of like mask a bit of a grin and I elbow him in the ribs. not super hard, but just
I take
like
damage.
15 points of damage. All physical contact between party members is 15 points of damage.
sorry, that poison dagger, it's in your side now.
Oh lord!
You just look down and you're like,
What is this?
you have the what you say reaction. You're like, what? Why? That would be a hell of a trick.
That would be.
Sneak attack.
Yeah, that's true. We get to tack on that damage too.
Hmm.
All right, so the question now basically is nightfall is coming, probably within the hour or so as you understand the sun. You are now at the apex, so travel will be quicker as you're now going down the mountain to head towards Willowdale, but again, at the pace, it's still going to take you into midnight or so, so if you want to set up camp, you'd probably be looking to do so in the pretty near future.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think now's a good a time as any. We've been traveling like all day. We should probably.
And we
Probably
fought a
rest.
dragon as well in between that,
Yes,
and some of us
right.
almost died. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably been a rough
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So another maybe half hour, maybe 45 minutes or so of relatively uneventful travel passes, and eventually you're able to kind of keep an eye out alongside this path, as it were, for a spot that might be good for camping, which is to say open enough to have a fire, but then maybe still surrounded enough to, give yourself a perimeter of sorts. And you guys have tents now, and you're actually like bona fide camping people now.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
should have been a 2-person tent for every person. So I assume Tessia and Thea can share one. I don't know if she brought a tent.
She did not,
So then he offers her tent, unless
and she's happy to anyways because she hasn't seen you much. So
But then all you guys have a two-person tent, unless you guys want to share tents. So
does
I
anyone
mean-
wish to share tents?
I wouldn't mind sharing a tent. I don't want to be by myself. Maybe I don't know if Lena wants to share a tent with me. I could do that.
Yeah, I say. Yeah, I think that sounds good. So I'll
Okay.
offer to share it with you as well.
Okay.
I was already gonna do this, but especially now, I don't set up my tent, and I kind of just like wander off a little bit, not super far, but I want to find kind of a vantage point. I'm not gonna like climb a tree or something stupid, but just like a little bit of like a hill or like a rock to just go on and sit, and I'm just gonna be by myself, looking at Timberbrook. And I'm just going to like put on the mask. And I'm just going to sit in my mask and look at Timberbrook until
This is
I
how he
pass
gets
out,
off, everyone.
basically. And then I'm going to start jerking it.
Oh, angst.
As Isaac leaves, and I'm guessing I'm setting up camp with everybody and Lena, I'm going to kind of just say kind of quietly to myself, but anyone who's near me, I worry about that boy.
Am I close enough to hear it?
Sure.
Okay.
I want you to hear it, so
Okay,
I'm going to
good.
make sure you are.
Perfect.
I worry about that boy.
Guys, did you hear me? I said.
I'm talking about Isaac specifically.
Isaac, who's halfway across the forest, still hears it too.
Like, can you at least wait till I'm out of earshot?
But yeah, it's audible to you. Yeah.
Okay. So I'll kind of sigh and say, I do too. I wish I could do more to bring us closer as a group. I'm feeling a little lost on that front.
He hasn't exactly made this super easy on you, Lena. I will say he's been a little. He's a tough person to get close to. I just happened to find him, I would say, at the right time. It was really one of the worst times possible to meet somebody, but it put me in a position where he had to put trust in me, and so it was opportune for me. But for all y'all, it has been an uphill struggle. I can tell, especially with Tessian, and honestly with you too, Lena. But I think if you just keep with what you're doing and stay the leader that you are and that you're being, he'll come around. Maybe.
Yeah, and I just kind of like chuckle, and I'm like, I hope so. And I'm sorry about today. I don't even have a good excuse for my behavior. I just got so caught up in the moment and excited about a new power. It sounds incredibly selfish and stupid, but I should have been more concerned.
And I looked
considerate.
like genuinely confused by this, and I'm like, I don't understand what you're talking about. I thought, I mean, we were up against some immense power. Aurelia is nothing to be trifled with. You did nothing wrong, Lena. As far as I can see, and I'm the one who almost ended up dead. You did the best you could, and I don't know why you're apologizing.
And I kind of nod and I say, I don't either, I suppose. Let's just put that behind us. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're doing fine. It was unfortunate that happened, but everything's all right. I'm alive. We're all together. Let's just move forward.
Okay. So you guys kind of set up tents, and Thea helps Tessian with his, and then also Thea would like to go over and help Karash with his if he hasn't already got his assembled. So
Sure.
she kind of works to help everybody get tents up for the night. Isaac heads off by himself pensively. Are you guys going to start a fire?
Yeah.
Hastily.
I have a thing for that, I think. I have to find it, though. Is it Druidcraft that lets me make fires?
I think it does. I have prestidigitation, but I know you want to do it, so.
Yeah, I'll do the thing.
Let the leader lead, God damn it.
Dustin's just sitting there. He's about to do it, and he sees like Lena like going. He's like, "Oh, just keep this one to myself."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Let Lena have this.
Yeah, Thea could as well, but she's like, nah.
Yeah. I'll I'll make a fire with my druid craft. Yes.
It burns down the forest.
Holy shit. Sorry.
You've been holding out on us with that.
Yeah, Isaac's just sitting there minding his own business as fire approaches from the west.
That's the apology for. It was preemptive for when she burns down the fire and kills Isaac in the blaze.
That's really rough. What a sad and also very random ending for the character.
I wear really strong grudges.
Yeah, especially in the clearing, it's easy enough to stoke up a fire with some stray branches and stuff, and you're able to build one to a nice size for keeping warm in what's going to be a somewhat chilly evening at least. And also, if you want to do, like, cook any food or at least toss the rations in there to make them a little fresh or whatever the hell, you guys can do that with the fire as well.
Yeah.
I mean,
sounds good.
Tessian is probably just prestidigitating them to taste like something else, so I don't know how much he cares about them being cooked, but yeah. He's lazy. Very lazy.
I probably burn whatever it is I'm trying to cook a little bit. It gets a little toasty.
Marshmallows.
Yay.
Alas.
Yay.
We don't have any marshmallows. But if you did,
Oh, man. That'd be so good.
maybe the next store you go to will mysteriously have some. Who knows? Who knows?
Mm-hmm.
The mystery.
Anything else you guys like to do in the evening time before going to bed for the night?
I'm going to attune my wand to me. So I'm going to be kind of chilling next to the fire and, like, hanging out with the wand, doing as I should.
Mm-hmm. Which takes a half hour or so, and whatever. But in game terms, yes, you're able to do that with relative ease.
Okay.
First time doing it, but you're familiar with the concept, and yeah, by the end of the evening, you'll be like, "Yep, I can use this thing now."
Cool.
I'm going to put on my shiny new armor and then proceed to make a ginormous symbol of Cord on the ground in the midst of our camp.
He's so weird. I love him. Why is he like this?
It's easy enough to do. You get the feeling that there is a decent amount of rain up in this mountain pass from time to time because the ground is relatively soft. So it's easy to kind of like take whatever you want to take, like the handle, the mace or whatever, to just kind of, yeah, sure.
I don't have a mace anymore. I gave it to Parith.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I love that you're like in your new mithril armor. Just you're like that. Are you putting the other stuff in the bag of holding?
I was going to just toss it in the cart.
I'll offer the bag of holding if you want. So I'll just kind of, we can put it in there.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. I wouldn't care.
Okay.
I'm trying to decide if Karash would be confused by the concept of it.
The bag of holding?
Oh, probably. I'm sure I'd have to
I-
explain it.
I've always kind of just assumed that he's experienced enough magic at being a freaking dragonborn that it's kind of like, nah.
Yeah, I imagine
That's
he
true.
would just kind of be like,
Yeah.
well, I
He
don't know,
doesn't-
it's magic.
Yeah, he doesn't understand it, but it's true. He knows at least enough to be like, yeah, it's not like the bag has only the space inside the bag. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Oh.
So yeah, you can do that.
I can call down thunder from my god. What the hell do I? I'm like, nah.
And the thing you notice pretty quickly as Karash is putting this on is that he's not quiet per se, but he's definitely less noisy. It's still full plate armor. It still makes clanking noises as he moves about, especially as the joints hit in certain ways, but definitely less of a noise profile than he had before. It's almost as though he no longer has disadvantage on stealth checks.
Yay!
Yay, that's great.
Almost as though.
It looks good on you, Karash.
Thank you. It feels very flexible.
Yes, Mithril is elven in make. It's quite light. Still strong though.
I'm gonna offer you a stick or a rock and ask you to hit me with it.
And
I was paying attention earlier.
Yep, he's learning.
and Tessie just sort of does like a soft like poke, like just boop boop. Tries to get it in a little deeper.
We'll work on that. You use magic a lot, I know.
At this point, Thea's like, that's no proper test. Karash, are you sure you don't mind? I'll throw a rock.
Yes.
So she does, and assuming you're not trying to dodge it, it clanks off the armor, has no impact on you, just goes clunk and hits the ground. She's like, yep, good sturdy stuff, that.
Tessie's like, oh, I didn't want to. And there's like a little bit of dust on it, and he just prestidigitates it away. And he's like, it looks so nice on him though.
You're such a dandy. I love it.
And Thea's like, well, I suppose you have a point there, but it's only going to stay nice for so long.
It is on Crash after all.
Tessian looks a little sad because she's right.
She's like,
Can't
I'm
argue with
sure
it.
Karash will be knocking some heads in it in no time, right?
If I have to, yes.
Maybe even cutting off heads in it.
There's a little bit of a smile on that.
Mm-hmm. Anything else for the evening time? Conversations, group pairings, etc.
Tessian wants to find a second to kind of talk with Lena. If Grail's there, he's not adverse to chatting there. But he'll bring Thea along too. And he just kind of wants to. He sits down. I don't know. I'm assuming we're by the fire, or by your tent, wherever. I don't care. And he's like, listen. Thea brought up something earlier today, and I feel maybe I haven't been entirely honest with you, Lena. And I feel, as she said earlier, and he kind of gives her a nod, like, thanks for that. I have been struggling with ways to properly... I'm not really a warrior, I would say. I could defend myself, of course, but we tend to get in a bit more danger than I used to, and I am... my family has a number of spells at their disposal, and I am not fit to wield all of them. I know we've discussed some of this, but as you know, my family's at least partially cursed. My uncle, myself, with our bloodline tainted the way it is, not every spell can be wielded safely, and I have been relying on some of my mother's spells when I should not be. And
So I'm definitely there and I'm listening because I didn't know about the curse at all.
You guys are having a conversation, and then Grail like spider crawls over to the campfire.
Yeah.
No. She got to do the reverse spider crawl. The
Exorcist?
creepy.
The Bray Wyatt.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
and Tessian's like, I'm not sure how to proceed with this, Lena. It's a bit it's too dangerous, this journey, to not be able to defend you or myself. But Thea is right. I cannot be risking myself at your expense. That will only put yourself at risk as well. I just don't know exactly where to go next with this. I am not familiar with enough spells to try to... Well, there is a reason I asked you how to cast that thunder magic of yours earlier.
And I nod, and I remember.
Yes, I've struggled a bit with some of the more offensive spells, and ever since that run-in we had with the hag, I realized I was not up to snuff. So I just feel I needed to be honest with you. I will only use it if you wish. The spell, the lightning blade, I will only use it in dire circumstances if you want, or not at all. I feel it's probably up to you. It should be up to you, I think. Yes, that seems right.
And I'm giving it some thought. And I say, well, I agree. We shouldn't be putting ourselves at risk more than we need to. I could try to teach you some more spells that I know that might assist you, so you don't have to rely on something that's potentially very dangerous. I think for now, maybe we should try not to rely on it because of how powerful it is and how dangerous it can be. We might not have a choice later. Depending on how this journey goes, we might have to use it, but at least for now we can try to protect ourselves in a much safer way. If that's okay with you.
And Tessie nods, and he's like, I can still rely on my daggers and other things, but I'll follow your lead on this, Lena. That's what we're here for, after all.
Well, I appreciate you telling me about this. I think I have a better understanding of everything, which is good. It's what I need to have.
You see Thea kind of lean towards Tessie at this point with a shit-eating grin on her face. She says, and she's looking at you as she says this, Leonard. She says, "Have you ever seen him so uncomfortable?"
I haven't, actually. This is a first for me.
It's pretty rare to see him out of his element, isn't it? I kind of like it, though.
And Tessie just tries to push her face away. He's like,
bye. I'm just sitting there still, and I also am kind of like smiling a little bit, not because I think it's like funny or anything, but I am like hella curious about the curse. I don't know if I'm gonna say anything though. I think I'm just gonna let that ride.
You're there. Tessin he'd be like, well, do you want to get any shots in, Grail, while you're here?
I kind of like stand up a little straight, like, what, me, huh? I wasn't listening, but then I kind of clear my throat, and I'm like, curses are always pretty fascinating, and you never mentioned that. What, may I ask? How? Why? What happened?
And Tessian is, he's like, well, I take it you're not, I suppose it's history, but sometime...
I'm from bumfuck nowhere, so what your history seems is probably totally unknown to me.
And Tessie nods. He's like, no, I understand. Sometimes I forget that not everyone is as educated as myself. In Black Harbor, some time ago, we have you ever heard of the War of the Kraken? It was a few hundred years ago, but are you familiar with it at all?
I don't think I am. Chris, what do you think?
Nope.
Okay. Yeah, I just shake my head kind of wide-eyed.
And Tessie says, well, a few hundred years ago, I think 300 or so, and he's sort of looking at Thea because he's not entirely sure on his math, but
Somewhere around there, yes.
Tessin's like, well, there was it's a large creature. They're known as Kraken. They're extremely dangerous, extremely powerful. They're I won't go into exactly what they are, but suffice to say they are not good news, and this particular abomination, this particular beast, set its sights on Aramea, and it launched something of a campaign amongst the coast. It attempted to invade. Long story short, the coast suffered a great deal until Black Harbor was one of the few remaining defenses, about the only thing stopping it from hitting the mainland. My people have been very good about keeping to themselves, and that defensive nature was to the coast's benefit in this particular case. Some may disagree on that, but that's my family stance. Anyway, the creature was eventually killed, slain, but in its dying efforts, it cursed my ancestor, Alexander. He was the Stormlord at the time, the ruler of my family, Black Harbor, and he was capable of wielding our family staff. It's what we use to help control the weather along the coast, to keep things safe for the fishermen, trade, and the like. The Kraken was not a fan of the power that he wielded and attempted to sever that power by placing its curse upon him. The Krakens are capable of warping and shaping flesh. It's not pretty, but they can turn people into things. Gills, teeth, claws, spines, fins. They call them sea spawn. No one is exactly the same, but all of them are twisted creatures of the sea. And it attempted to do the same thing to my ancestor, and was only partially successful. The curse has been in my blood ever since, but it only affects the males in the family, like myself and my uncle. It's why I have those gills when I enter the water and the such. We are not made just of flesh, but we are made of elements as well as Genasi, and the curse affects us a little differently than with others. There are still remnants of the curse within some of the people in Black Harbor, but it was a long time ago. The curse, however, has shaped my blood, and I am not capable of wielding the staff that my family uses, nor am I capable of wielding all the spells that have been at our disposal for generations. It's why no male heir has ruled Black Harbor ever since the time of Alexander. We cannot wield the staff, and thus cannot protect the city, and thus are not fit to rule. It is why I am a diplomat, a traveler of sorts on my mother's behalf, and like my uncle before me. So, yes.
And Grail is very engrossed in this whole story. And I just kind of lean back and I nod and I say, thank you for telling me that, Tessie. I didn't know.
And Tessie nods. He's like, well, it's not really a secret, but I suppose not every circle is familiar with it. It's a much bigger deal in Black Harbor, obviously, but yes.
Surely. Well, I'm glad you told me. And if you remember, there was that whole issue with not knowing who you are and all this stuff. So Grail, myself, I'm pleased that you came forth and told me. But yeah, I kind of just sit back and kind of look into the fire and don't say anything else after that. After I thank you.
So yeah, I think that's
there's
about
the story.
Mm-hmm. Anything else for the evening time before settling down for the night? So our arrangement is Tessian and Thea in one tent, Grail and Lena in one tent, Karash in a tent. There's a tent for Isaac, but does he use it?
It's not even set up.
It's just a pile in the corner.
Yeah. It's just
I didn't even take it out of the thing.
It's in his little canvas bag, yeah. And who's doing watch? If anyone.
Well, I almost died, so I'm not taking first watch.
I'll
I'm
take
just
first
gonna say
watch.
Okay.
Tessian's in a tent with his fiance and doesn't want watch.
I suppose I'll be watching until I fall asleep. It's not part of the
It's too
formal
busy
watch.
for watching.
But
I can take like a watch, but I need to heal. So
I can take it in your place. Like if we want to do, or if I do third watch, I'll do that.
All right. So we'll leave off at this point. There are still a couple of saving throws that are going to have to be made tonight as we go into the evening and see what ramifications there are from that, and then the morning awaits and whatever happens maybe in between with watch. But we'll cover that all next time on the Anachroschism.